The alley stinks of stale beer and desperation, a smell I know better than my own cheap perfume. My feet ache in their worn-out flats, the soles thin as paper against the damp, grimy concrete. It's after 2 in the morning, the only time I can get extra shifts at the diner, the extra money that just might cover the next payment for Mom's care. I'm cutting through the back of the old warehouse district, a shortcut that shaves 10 minutes off my walk, a shortcut I usually avoid. But tonight, exhaustion is a heavy cloak and I'm desperate for the warmth of my tiny apartment. That's when I hear it. A sound that doesn't belong, not the rattle of a stray cat in a dumpster, not the distant wail of a siren. It's a low, guttural groan, the kind of sound a man makes when his body is breaking. I freeze, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a gasp. The single bare bulb hanging over a steel back door casts long, dancing shadows. Under that light, I see them. 3 men, their forms bulky and menacing. One is on his knees, his face a mess of blood and terror. The other 2 stand over him, and one of them is different. He's not just a thug. He's still radiating a cold authority that chills the air more than the autumn wind. He wears a suit, a dark, immaculate suit that looks utterly wrong in this filth. He says something, his voice too low for me to catch, but the man on the ground flinches as if struck. Then the suited man nods to the other, a mountain of muscle in a leather jacket. The mountain grabs the kneeling man's arm, and with a sickening, wet crack, I realize he's breaking it. The scream that tears from the man's throat is raw, animal. I stumble back, my heels scraping against a loose piece of gravel. The sound is tiny, a whisper in the cavernous alley, but it's enough. All 3 heads snap in my direction. The mountain takes a step toward me, his face a blank mask of intent. The suited man holds up a hand, a single, sharp gesture, and the mountain stops. His gaze finds me in the darkness. It's not a look of panic or even surprise. It's a look of assessment, cold and calculating, like a predator sizing up its next meal. He sees me, the waitress in her stained uniform, the student with circles under her eyes, the daughter carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. He sees all of it and dismisses it in an instant. He says something to his men, then starts walking toward me. I want to run, but my legs are locked in place, every muscle screaming with a terror so profound it's paralyzing. He stops a few feet away, close enough that I can smell the clean, expensive scent of his cologne, a stark contrast to the alley's decay. His face is all hard angles and shadows, his eyes dark as a moonless night. He doesn't threaten me, he doesn't have to. You saw nothing, he says, it's not a question. It's a statement of fact, a verdict. I can only nod, my throat too tight to form words. He looks me over again, a slow, deliberate sweep that makes my skin prickle. What's your name? He asks, my voice is a shaky whisper. Ella. Ella, he repeats, the name sounding different on his tongue, heavier, more significant. He turns his head slightly. Bring her. The mountain is beside me in an instant, his grip like iron on my arm. I don't struggle, there's no point. This is not a man you argue with, this is a force of nature. He leads me to a black car idling at the mouth of the alley, a car so sleek and dark it seems to drink the light around it. The suited man gets in the back seat and the mountain opens the door for me, pushing me in gently but firmly. I land on the soft leather, the material cool against my skin. The door closes with a solid, expensive thud, the sound of a tomb ceiling. I'm trapped. The man sits opposite me, not looking at me but looking out the window as the city lights blur past. His presence fills the small space, a palpable weight that presses down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I don't ask where we're going, I don't ask what he's going to do with me. I just sit there, a ghost in a machine, and watch the world I know disappear. If slow burn romance with high stakes is your thing, hit subscribe. Now back to the story. The car pulls into a private underground garage, the space sterile and brightly lit. We ride an elevator up in silence, the only sound the soft hum of machinery and the frantic beating of my own heart. When the doors open, it's not into a hallway but directly into a room. A penthouse. The space is vast, a sprawling expanse of dark wood, glass, and gray stone. Floor-to-ceiling windows line one entire wall, offering a panoramic view of the city that now looks like a galaxy of stars at my feet. It's beautiful, but it's a cold beauty. There's no clutter, no personal touches, no sign that a person actually lives here. It's a museum, a fortress, a cage. You will stay here, he says, his voice the first sound he's made since the alley. He walks over to a bar built into a wall of dark mahogany, his movements fluid and economical. He pours 2 fingers of a golden liquid into a heavy crystal glass. Your things will be brought to you, you will want for nothing. He turns, his dark eyes finding mine. But you will not leave, do you understand? I nod again, the motion jerky. The word escapes my lips before I can stop it, a fragile sound in the overwhelming silence. He takes a slow sip of his drink, his gaze unwavering. Because you saw something, Ella, and in my world witnesses are a loose end, I am choosing not to tie it. The implication is clear, he is sparing my life, but it is a life on his terms. He gestures toward a hallway. There are bedrooms down there, choose one, the kitchen is stocked. Maria comes in the mornings to cook and clean. Do not speak to her about anything other than what you need. He finishes his drink and sets the glass down with a soft click. My name is Marco, and this, he says, gesturing to the room, to the city below, to the invisible walls that now surround me, is your life now. He walks away, disappearing down another hallway, leaving me alone in the cavernous silence. I stand there for a long time, just breathing, trying to anchor myself in a reality that has tilted completely on its axis. The luxury is suffocating. The silence is a physical presence. I am a prisoner in a palace, and my jailer is a man with eyes like a winter sky and hands that break bones. The first few days are a blur of fear and disorientation. I choose a bedroom at the far end of the hall, a room with a large bed and a window that looks out over the city. The closet is filled with designer clothes, all in my size, a fact that is more terrifying than comforting. It means he knows everything about me. I don't touch them. I keep wearing my uniform, the one they brought from my apartment, along with my backpack and a single, sad-looking box of my things. I wander the penthouse like a ghost, learning its geography. There's a library with walls of leather-bound books that smell of old paper and wealth. There's a home theater with plush velvet seats. There's a gym with equipment that looks like it belongs in a professional training facility. And there's his office. The door is usually closed, but sometimes it's ajar, and I can hear his voice, low and steady, giving commands. I never see who he's talking to. I only hear the clipped final tone of his orders. He is a king in his castle, and I am a mouse hiding in the walls. We don't speak. He leaves in the morning and returns late at night, often smelling of smoke and something metallic like blood. He eats his meals alone, and Maria, a quiet, middle-aged woman who avoids my eyes, leaves a tray for me in my room. I eat alone, too. The silence between us is a heavy living thing, a third occupant in the vast sterile space. It presses on my eardrums, a constant low-frequency hum that vibrates in my bones. I exist in the quiet, moving through the rooms like a whisper, trying not to disturb the delicate, terrifying equilibrium. I've learned the sounds of the penthouse, the soft whoosh of the elevator arriving, the distant chime of a clock, the nearly inaudible hiss of the climate control. I've learned Marco's sounds, too. The solid, measured tread of his footsteps on the marble floors, the quiet click of a door latch, the low murmur of his voice from behind his office door. He is a creature of habit and control, and his world is built on a foundation of silence. That's why the sound that shatters the quiet on the fourth night is so jarring. It's not loud, not an explosion or a shout. It's a frantic, pounding knock on the front door, the kind of knock that speaks of panic and urgency. It's a sound that doesn't belong here. I freeze in the middle of the living room, a book I'm not reading slipping from my lap and landing soundlessly on the thick wool rug. Marco's office door is open. I see him stand, his movements sharp and swift. He doesn't call out. He moves, his silhouette a dark stain against the bright lights of his office as he crosses to the foyer. I hear the door open, a muffled, desperate voice, and then Marco's low, cutting tone, words I can't decipher. A moment later, two of his men enter, supporting a third between them. It's the mountain from the alley, the one who broke the other man's arm. Now he's the one who is broken. His face is ashen, beaded with sweat, and his leather jacket is dark and slick with wetness. He's slumped, his feet dragging, and a low groan escapes his lips with every shuffling step. The metallic scent of blood hits me a second later, sharp and coppery and utterly overwhelming. My medical training kicks in before my fear can fully process what's happening. My eyes scan him, automatically assessing. The way he's holding his left arm, the unnatural angle of his shoulder, the dark stain spreading across his abdomen. Gunshot. The shoulder is probably dislocated from the impact, but the abdomen is the real problem. That's where the life is leaking out. Marco's gaze finds me across the vast expanse of the living room. It's not a question, it's a summons. Ella, he says, his voice calm but with an edge of steel that cuts through the panic in the air. Come here. My feet feel like they're encased in cement. Every instinct screams at me to run back to my room, to lock the door, to pretend I don't exist. But the sight of the wounded man, the nurse in me, is a stronger pull. I force myself to move, one step at a time, until I'm standing a few feet away from the grim tableau. The air is thick with the smell of blood and fear. He was ambushed, Marco says, by way of explanation. His eyes are on me, dark and unreadable. A hospital is not an option. He states it as a simple fact, as if he's discussing the weather. You will fix him. It's not a request, it's a command, and it's the test. The loyalty test I hadn't realized I was waiting for. My gaze flickers from Marco's cold, impassive face to the man groaning in pain, the man who helped drag me into this world. My Hippocratic oath echoes in my head, do no harm, but does saving him count as doing no harm, or does it make me an accomplice? Does saving the life of a predator make me responsible for the lives he might later take? He needs a hospital, I say, my voice trembling but firm. He's losing a lot of blood, he could have organ damage. I'm a nurse, not a surgeon. You are what I say you are, Marco replies, his voice dropping, the temperature in the room plummeting. He takes a step closer, his presence a physical force. You will use what you know. You will stop the bleeding, you will stabilize him, I have everything you could possibly need. He gestures toward a hallway I've never explored. There is a medical room, you will go there now. Leo, he nods to one of the other men, take him. The man named Leo and his partner half-carry, half-drag the injured man toward the indicated hallway. Marco's eyes remain locked on mine. This is not a negotiation, Ella. You are here because you are useful. Now is the time to prove it. The threat is unspoken but crystal clear. My usefulness is the only thing keeping me alive. Refusal is not an option. I swallow hard, the taste of bile in my throat, and give a stiff, jerky nod. What do you want me to do? Follow them, he says. I will be there in a moment. I turn and walk down the hallway, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The door to the medical room is open. It's less a room and more a small, sterile clinic with white cabinets, a stainless steel examination table, and a tray of gleaming instruments under a surgical light. Leo and his partner have eased the injured man, his name, I overhear, is Bruno, onto the table. He's conscious but barely, his eyes glazed with pain and shock. Get his jacket and shirt off, I say, my voice finding a new, clinical tone. It's the voice I use at the hospital, the voice that separates me from the chaos and allows me to function. Leo produces a pair of heavy-duty shears and makes quick work of the blood-soaked leather and fabric. The wound is ugly. It's a small entry wound just below his ribs on the right side, but the area around it is already bruising spectacularly. There's no exit wound. The bullet is still inside. I need gloves. I need antiseptic. I need gauze, pressure dressings, and IV line fluids. I need a crash cart and a surgeon, but I'll have to make do with what I have. I need sterile gloves, antiseptic solution, and a full suture kit, I say to the room at large. Lactated ringer solution, IV start kit and wide-bore catheters, and a portable ultrasound if you have one. Leo just stares at me. I'm about to repeat myself more forcefully this time when Marco appears in the doorway. He heard me. Without a word, he goes to a locked cabinet, inputs a code on a keypad, and opens it. He begins placing the exact items I requested on a metal tray. He moves with an unnerving calm as if he's done this 100 times. He hands the tray to me, his fingers brushing against mine. His touch is cold and I flinch away. Work, he says. I pull on the gloves, the snap of the latex echoing in the quiet room. I clean the area around the wound as best I can, my movements practiced and sure. Bruno groans as the antiseptic stings, his body tensing. Hold him down, I command, and Leo complies, pressing his shoulders firmly against the table. I start an IV in Bruno's good arm, the fluids a desperate attempt to combat the shock and blood loss. My mind is racing, calculating, running through protocols. He's stable for now, but the bullet is a time bomb. It could be pressing against his liver, his kidney, a major vessel. Without imaging, I'm flying blind. The bullet, I say, not looking up from my work. It has to come out. Then take it out, Marco's voice says from the corner of the room where he stands, a silent, watching sentinel. I risk a glance at him. He's leaning against the wall, arms crossed over his chest, his face an expressionless mask. He's not just watching, he's judging. Every move I make, every decision is being weighed and measured. This is the test, not just can I save this man, but will I get my hands dirty for him? I can't, I say, my voice strained. I don't have the equipment. I can't see what I'm doing. I could cause more damage, nick an artery. He could blade out on this table. You have steady hands, Marco says, his voice quiet but carrying an immense weight. I saw them in the alley. You didn't panic. You were focused. Be focused now. He's not talking about the alley. He's talking about the warehouse, the man I saved before all this began. He knows, of course he knows everything. He's reminding me of who I am, what I did. I saved a life then. He expects me to do it again. My eyes scan the room, looking for anything I can use. My gaze lands on the portable ultrasound machine he'd placed on the counter. It's a high-end model, better than the ones we have in the ER. Hope, fragile and sharp, pierces through my despair. I wheel it over, turning it on. The screen flickers to life. I apply the conductive gel to the ultrasound probe, my hands slick with it and Bruno's blood. This is going to be cold, I murmur to Bruno, though I'm not sure he can hear. May. I press the probe to his skin just above the wound and the screen fills with a monochrome storm of shapes and shadows. My own breathing sounds loud in my ears, a ragged counterpoint to the shallow, wet gasps from the man on the table. I have to block everything out. The fear, the man in the corner who holds my life in his hands, the fact that this isn't a sterile operating room with a surgical team standing by. It's just me, a nurse, a fraud. I move the probe slowly, methodically, my eyes glued to the monitor. I can see the layers of muscle, the dark, fluid-filled space where blood is pooling, And then there it is, a bright, white, jagged echo, a foreign body, the bullet. It's lodged against the lower edge of his liver, a hair's breadth from a major vessel. My stomach clenches. It's a catastrophic placement. One wrong move and I could cause a hemorrhage so massive he'd be dead in minutes. It's there, I say, my voice barely a whisper. Against the liver. It's in a very bad spot. Marco pushes off the wall and moves to stand beside me, his gaze fixed on the screen. He doesn't say anything, but his presence is a suffocating weight. I can smell the faint, clean scent of his cologne, something expensive and woodsy, a stark contrast to the coppery tang of blood in the air. Can you get it out? He asks, his voice low. I shouldn't, I breathe, the words tearing out of me. It's a job for a surgeon, a trauma team. I could kill him. You could, he agrees, his tone infuriatingly placid. Or you could save him. Those are the only two options on the table, Ella. A hospital is not one of them, so you will choose. He turns his head, his dark eyes pinning me. Which will it be? My mind races. There is no choice, not really. Saying no is a death sentence for me and probably for Bruno too. Saying yes is a leap into an abyss I can't see the bottom of. I'm no longer just a witness. I'm about to become an active participant, a conspirator. My hands, which are meant to heal, are about to be used to preserve the life of a violent man, all to appease an even more violent one. The Hippocratic oath feels like a joke from another lifetime, a relic from a world that no longer exists for me. I need more instruments, I say, the decision settling in my gut like a stone. Forceps, a scalpel, retractors, and more light. My voice is shaking, but the clinical command is back. It's my armor. Marco gives a curt nod to Leo, who disappears into a cabinet and returns with a tray that looks like it was stolen from a surgical suite. The instruments gleam under the harsh light, cold and menacing. I select a scalpel, my hand trembling so badly I have to take a deep breath to steady it. I need to make an incision to widen the entry wound, I explain, mostly to myself. To give myself a clear path, I'll need to be quick. The moment I'm in, he could start bleeding profusely. Then be quick, Marco says. He steps closer, so close I can feel the heat radiating from his body. He isn't watching the monitor anymore, he's watching my hands. I have faith in your hands, Ella. His words are a shock, not a command, not a threat, but something that sounds unnervingly like confidence. It's more terrifying than any threat could be. It means he truly believes I can do this. It means the expectation is set and failure is not an option. I press the tip of the scalpel to Bruno's skin right next to the original bullet wound. The flesh parts easily, a clean red line, a fresh trickle of blood wells up. I work fast, my movements becoming a blur of practiced efficiency. I insert a small retractor, pulling the edges of the wound apart to create a small, bloody window into his body. The bullet is closer now, a dark shape amidst the red. I switch to the forceps, their metal cold and heavy in my grip. My heart is a frantic drum against my sternum, sweat beads on my forehead trickling down my temple. I ignore it, I block out everything but the task. The forceps go into the wound. I can't see what I'm doing directly. I'm working by feel, guided by the ghostly image on the ultrasound screen that Leo is now holding at an angle for me. My fingers brush against something hard and metallic. The bullet, it's slick with blood. I try to get a grip, but it's slippery, shifting away from the jaws of the forceps. Bruno groans, a deep, guttural sound of agony. Stay with me, Bruno, I murmur, my voice tight with concentration. Get it, Ella, Marco's voice is a low growl beside me. Now. The pressure is immense. I take a breath, let it out, and try again. This time, the jaws of the forceps close around the misshapen piece of lead. I have it. I can feel its weight, its unnatural presence inside another human being. Now for the hardest part, pulling it out without shredding the liver it's pressed against. I begin to withdraw, my movements infinitesimally slow. My entire world narrows to this one point of contact. The forceps in my hand, the bullet in the wound, the fragile life hanging in the balance. I can feel a slight resistance, a snagging sensation. My blood runs cold. I've caught something. I stop. I can't pull it this way. I have to adjust the angle. I twist my wrist, a tiny, precise movement. The snagging sensation eases. I pull again, slowly, steadily. And then it's free. A wave of relief so intense it makes me dizzy washes over me. I pull the forceps out and drop the bullet, which lands with a pathetic little clink into a metal dish on the tray. I did it, but the relief is short-lived. Blood, dark and arterial, begins to well up from the wound far more than before. The bullet had been acting as a plug. He's bleeding, I shout, my clinical composure shattering. I need suction, gauze, now. Leo is already there, shoving a suction canister into my hand. I clear the pooling blood, trying to see the source. It's a small tear in the liver capsule. It's not the catastrophic hemorrhage I feared, but it's bad. He's losing blood fast. Clamp, I snap, holding out my hand. Marco places a small, curved clamp in my palm. His fingers brush mine again, and this time I don't flinch. There's no time for fear. There is only the bleeding and the need to make it stop. I work with a desperate, fierce focus, clamping the small bleeder, my hands moving with a speed I didn't know I possessed. It's a patch-up job, a crude, temporary fix, but it's working. The flow of blood slows to a trickle, then stops. I lean back, my arms trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. The room is silent except for the beep of the heart monitor and Bruno's slightly more even breathing. He's alive. Against all odds, he's alive. I strip off my bloody gloves and throw them on the floor. My hands are shaking uncontrollably now. I look down at myself, at my scrubs, spattered with Bruno's blood. I feel stained, marked. I finally risk a look at Marco. He's still standing beside me, his gaze intense. For a long moment, he says nothing. He just looks at me and then at the man on the table and then back at me. The mask of the Iceman is still in place, but there's something new in his eyes, a flicker of something I can't name, respect maybe, or possession. You saved his life, he says. It's not a question, it's a statement of fact. I did what you told me to do, I reply, my voice hollow. I don't want his praise, I don't want his acknowledgement, I just want to go back to my room and scrub my skin until it feels clean again. No, he says, his voice dropping to that low, resonant tone that vibrates through me. You did what you had to do, there's a difference. He turns to Leo. Get him cleaned up and settled, post a guard, no one goes in or out without my say. Leo nods and begins to efficiently clean the area around the table. Marco puts a hand on my arm, his grip firm but not painful. Come with me. I'm too exhausted to argue. I let him guide me out of the medical room, down the hallway and away from the smell of antiseptic and blood. He doesn't take me back to my room. Instead, he leads me through a set of heavy carved doors into what must be his study. It's a man's room, all dark wood, leather-bound books, and the low glow of a fireplace. It smells of old paper, leather, and his cologne. It's the heart of his power, and I feel like an intruder. He lets go of my arm and walks over to a bar cart, pouring 2 glasses of a deep amber liquid. He holds one out to me. I shake my head. I don't drink. You do tonight, he says, his voice leaving no room for argument. You earned it. I take the glass, the heavy crystal cool in my still shaking hand. I don't drink it, just hold it. He walks to the fireplace, staring into the flames. The men who ambushed Bruno, they work for the Falcone family. The name hangs in the air between us, the rival family. The ones who framed him, they were sending a message, he continues, his back to me, and they were trying to get something back, something Bruno was carrying for me. He turns, his eyes catching the firelight, making them glow with a dangerous light. They failed because of you. I didn't do it for you, I say, the words coming out sharper than I intend. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. It's not a warm smile, it's predatory. No, you held a man's life in your hands tonight in my house on my orders. You crossed a line, Ella, there's no going back. I'm a nurse, I saved a life. You're my nurse, he corrects me, his voice soft but deadly. You saved my man, you protected my assets, that makes you one of them. The finality in his tone sends a chill down my spine. I'm not one of you, I'm a witness, that's all. He takes a slow sip of his drink, his eyes never leaving mine. Is that what you think you are? A witness? He sets his glass down and walks toward me, stopping just a foot away. He's so close I can see the faint silver threads in his dark eyes. A witness is passive, someone who sees something happen. You don't just see, you act. You intervened in the warehouse. You saved the man I sent you to save. And tonight you operated on my soldier. You are not a witness, you are a participant. He raises a hand and for a terrifying second I think he's going to hit me. Instead, he gently tucks a stray strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers linger against my skin, a touch that is both possessive and surprisingly tender. It sends a jolt through me that is part fear, part something else I refuse to name. The Falcones think they can come into my city, attack my men, and frame me for a murder I didn't commit, he says, his voice a low murmur. They think they can weaken me. They don't understand that pressure doesn't break me, it forges me. And you, Ella. You were forged tonight. His thumb traces the line. Of my jaw, they think they know me, they think they know my weaknesses, they're about to find out what happens when I create a new strength. His eyes hold mine and the room feels smaller, the air thicker, charged with an energy that has nothing to do with the fireplace. You're that strength, Ella, whether you want to be or not. The words are a verdict, a sentence passed. I want to recoil, to shove his hand away and scream that I'm not a weapon for him to use. But I'm frozen, trapped by the intensity in his gaze and the warmth of his touch spreading through my veins like a poison, a delicious, terrifying poison. Drink, he commands softly, nodding toward the glass in my hand. My fingers are clenched so tightly around the crystal I'm afraid it will shatter. I wasn't asking, he interrupts, his voice still a low murmur, but the steel beneath it is unmistakable. He takes the glass from my numb fingers and brings it to my lips. The smell of peat and smoke fills my senses. I turn my head away, a final pathetic act of defiance. His other hand moves to the back of my neck, his fingers tangling in my hair, holding me in place. It's not a violent grip, but it's absolute. There is no escape. Open your mouth, he whispers against my ear. His breath is warm, a stark contrast to the cold reputation that precedes him. A shiver racks my body and my lips part on a gasp. He takes the opportunity, tilting the glass. The liquid burns. It's a fire racing down my throat, harsh and potent. I sputter, coughing, the whiskey scorching its way into my system. He pulls the glass back, a dark satisfaction in his eyes as he watches me recover. Good girl. The condescension should infuriate me. It does, but underneath the anger is a traitorous flicker of relief. The decision was taken out of my hands. He takes a slow sip from the same glass, his lips touching the exact spot mine just were. The intimacy of the gesture is more jarring than any threat. The Falcons aren't just coming for me, he says, walking back to the bar to set the glass down. They're coming for what I have, what Bruno was carrying. He turns, leaning against the bar, his powerful form silhouetted against the dark wood of the room. A ledger, the word hangs in the air. Bruno wasn't just a soldier, he was a courier. The Falcons' entire operation, their dirty cops, their political bribes, their offshore accounts, it's all in that book, the book Bruno had on him when they shot him. My mind races, connecting the dots. That's why they framed you for the murder at the warehouse, to create a diversion to get the heat on you while they hunted for the ledger. A genuine, if chilling, smile touches Marco's lips. You see, you're not just a nurse. You understand, I watch police procedurals, I retort, my voice raspy from the whiskey. It's not rocket science. No, he agrees, pushing off the bar and stalking toward me again. It's not, but understanding the game and playing it are two very different things. The ledger is the key to everything. It's how I clear my name, it's how I burn their empire to the ground, and it's currently missing. My blood runs cold, missing. Bruno, in his infinite wisdom, had a moment of paranoia before the ambush. He hid it, told me he left a message just for me in case something happened, a message only I would understand. He stops in front of me, so close I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. He was found in an alley 2 blocks from the warehouse. The ledger wasn't on him. The police have his clothes, his phone, nothing, but he was conscious for a few minutes after you left the warehouse. He spoke to the paramedics. My heart hammers against my ribs. He was barely alive. He was delirious. Was he, Marco challenges, or was he giving a final report? He leans in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. He said a name, Ella, just one, a woman's name before he passed out. The world tilts. I feel like I'm back in that warehouse, the smell of blood and gunpowder thick in the air. What name? I ask, though I'm terrified of the answer. He doesn't say it at first. He just watches me, gauging my reaction, letting the suspense build until I'm practically vibrating with it. He said, tell Ella. The name hangs between us, a death sentence. My name. I stumble back a step, my legs suddenly weak. No, that's impossible. I don't know him. I never spoke to him. I know, Marco says, and there's something almost like sympathy in his eyes. It's a terrifying look on him. He didn't know your name, he couldn't have, but he saw you, the nurse who saved his life. The woman who appeared out of nowhere and performed a miracle. In his last moments of clarity, he gave you the key. He made you the message. I shake my head, denial a sour taste in my mouth. You're wrong, it's a coincidence. There are no coincidences in my world, Ella, only patterns, and you are the most beautiful, dangerous pattern I have ever seen. He runs a hand through his dark hair, a gesture of frustration that seems uncharacteristically human. The Falcons will figure it out. Sooner or later, they'll hear about the name he spoke. They'll come for you. Not just because you're a witness to their botched hit, but because they'll believe you have the ledger, or you know where it is. I sink into the nearest leather armchair, the whiskey churning in my stomach. I'm no longer just a witness. I'm a target, a living, breathing clue in a war I never asked to be a part of. What do? I whisper, the words torn from me. The fight has gone out of me, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. You do nothing, he says, his voice hardening again, the Iceman returning. You stay here, you let me protect you. Protect me, you're the one who put me in this. I surge to my feet, the anger a welcome spark against the fear. If you hadn't taken me from that hospital, you'd be dead, he roars, the sudden violence in his voice making me flinch. The Falcons had men at the hospital within the hour, asking questions about the Jane Doe who treated a GSW victim before disappearing. They would have found you, they would have tortured you for information you don't have and left your body in a ditch. Don't you get it? Your only chance of survival is me. The heavy oak doors to the study swing open without a knock. Leo stands there, his face grim, his shirt spattered with fresh blood. My heart sinks, not again. Marco, Leo says, his voice tight. We have a situation. They hit one of our gambling dens on the east side. 2 of our men are dead. They left a message. Marco's entire demeanor changes. The anger he directed at me vanishes, replaced by a cold, terrifying calm. He is the Iceman, the ruthless boss in a heartbeat. What message? He asks, his voice dangerously quiet. They carved a bird into the door, a falcon, my breath catches. It's a declaration of war. And they took someone, Leo adds, his gaze flicking to me for a split second before returning to his boss. Not one of ours, a civilian, a woman who works the bar. Marco's jaw clenches, a muscle ticking in his cheek. He doesn't react outwardly, but I can feel the rage radiating from him, a palpable force in the room. They're escalating, he murmurs, almost to himself. They're getting desperate. He turns to me, his eyes like chips of ice. This is what I was talking about. This is what they do. They don't follow rules. They go after the weak to send a message. He walks to his desk and pulls a gun from a drawer. It's a sleek black pistol, and he handles it with an easy familiarity that sickens me. He checks the clip, slams it back into the handle with a sharp click. Leo, get the car, round up Franco, Rocco, and Nico. We're going to pay a visit to the Falcon's chief of loan enforcement, a man named Sal the Butcher, Morty. Leo nods and disappears. Marco starts shrugging off his suit jacket, revealing a shoulder holster beneath his crisp white shirt. He straps the pistol into the holster, his movements economical and precise. He's preparing for war. You're going out there, I ask, my voice trembling. They just hit one of your places. They're expecting you to retaliate. It's a trap. He pauses, his hand stilling on the strap of his holster. He looks at me, a long, considering look. Of course, it's a trap, that's the point. He finishes securing the holster and pulls on a black leather jacket that hides the weapon. They want me to come out swinging, angry, and reckless. They want me on their turf, on their terms. So you're just going to walk into it? No, he says, a dark glint in his eyes. I'm going to walk through it, and I'm going to send a message of my own. He walks toward the doors, then stops, his back to me. You'll stay in here, lock the door behind me, don't open it for anyone but me or Leo. There's food in the adjoining bathroom, a bathroom through that door. He points to a discreet panel in the wall. You'll be safe. He's about to leave me. Alone in the heart of his fortress while he goes out to face his enemies. A wave of something sharp and painful lances through my chest. Fear, yes, but something else too. The thought of him walking into a trap, of him getting hurt, it's unacceptable. Marco, I call out, my voice barely a whisper. He turns, his hand on the doorknob. What? Be careful. The words are out before I can stop them, a vulnerability I didn't want to show. His eyes soften just for a second. The ice thaws, revealing the turbulent, dangerous sea beneath. I always am, he says. Then he's gone, the heavy doors clicking shut behind him. I rush forward and turn the ornate brass lock, the sound echoing in the sudden, oppressive silence of the room. I'm alone, in the lion's den. I press my forehead against the cool wood of the door, my mind reeling. I should be hoping he fails. I should be hoping his enemies take him out, giving me a chance to escape this gilded cage, but I'm not. All I can see is the image of him strapping on his gun, the cold resolve in his eyes. And all I can feel is a terrifying, traitorous prayer that he comes back. I walk over to the fireplace, the heat doing nothing to chase the chill from my bones. I'm a participant, he said, forged in fire. He's right. The nurse who left the hospital to save a life is gone. In her place is a woman who just watched a mob boss arm himself and prayed for his safe return. I don't know who I am anymore. I only know that my world, my life, is now irrevocably tied to his. And as the fire crackles, casting long, dancing shadows across the room, I realize the most terrifying truth of all. A part of me doesn't want to go back. The silence in the study is a living thing. It presses in on me, thick and heavy, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the frantic, useless thumping of my own heart. I'm a prisoner in a gilded cage, and the lion who holds the key has just walked into a pack of hyenas. I press my palms against my eyes, trying to block out the image of him strapping on his gun, the cold finality in his voice. Be careful. The words echo in my head, a pathetic, desperate plea. He is the Iceman. He is ruthless. He is a killer. He is also the only thing standing between me and a shallow grave. The contradiction is a sickness in my soul. I can't stay still. Pacing the length of the Persian rug feels like a futile attempt to outrun my own thoughts. My nurse's training screams at me to do something, to fix something, but there is nothing here to fix. The battle is out there, and I am in here, useless. My gaze sweeps the room, really seeing it for the first time. It's a masculine space dominated by dark wood and leather. The walls are lined with books, not the dusty, untouched kind you see for decoration, but well-read volumes. Their spines are cracked, some with faded gold lettering. I trail a finger along them, my curiosity a temporary balm against the fear. The Art of War, The Prince, Histories of Ancient Empires. It's a library of a man who understands power, who studies it like a science. Tucked between a heavy tome on Roman strategy and a biography of a Medici banker is a slimmer, unassuming volume. I pull it free. It's a collection of poetry by Yeats. The cover is soft, the edges worn smooth as if by 1,000 thumbings. This doesn't fit. This is the private library of a warlord, and I'm holding a book of love poems and mystical Irish folklore. I open it, and the faint, clean scent of old paper rises to meet me. Inside, I find what I'm looking for. A single line is underlined in a passage from He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. Tread softly because you tread on my dreams. The ink is a faded blue, the handwriting a precise, elegant script I recognize from the note he left me. It's his, Marco's. The Iceman reads poetry and underlines lines about treading softly. The discovery is a physical blow, a crack in the icy facade he presents to the world. It doesn't make him less dangerous. It makes him infinitely more complicated. I sink into the leather chair behind his desk, the book in my lap. This is his sanctuary. The desk is massive, a dark, gleaming expanse of mahogany. It's surprisingly tidy. A slim laptop, a single Montblanc pen in a holder, a neat stack of papers. I shouldn't look. It's an invasion of privacy, a line I shouldn't cross. But the nurse in me, the one who needs to understand the wound to treat it, can't resist. I slide the top sheet from the stack. It's a financial report, columns of numbers that mean nothing to me. The next is a manifest, a list of shipments. Coffee, textiles, olive oil, legitimate businesses, but the quantities are vast and the ports of call are interesting. I'm about to put it back when I hear it. A faint, distant sound, a shout. Or just the wind whistling around the eaves of the mansion. I freeze, my head cocked, every nerve ending suddenly alight. The fire crackles oblivious. I hold my breath, listening. There it is again, closer this time. A sharp metallic clang followed by a muffled curse. It's not the wind, it's coming from outside the study, from the main hall of the mansion. My blood runs cold. They're here, the Falcons. They didn't just set a trap for Marco, they brought the fight to his doorstep, to his home. To me, I scramble up, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Marco's words echo in my head, lock the door, don't open it for anyone but me or Leo, I'm safe, I'm locked in, but the sounds are getting closer, a heavy thud like a body hitting a marble floor, a pained grunt, then the unmistakable wet sound of a blade sinking into flesh. I clap a hand over my mouth to stifle a gasp. I'm listening to men die, men who are here to protect me. The guilt is a sour, acidic burn. I'm huddled in safety while they're being slaughtered just feet away. Suddenly, a frantic pounding erupts on the study doors, not a knock, a desperate, battering sound. Miss Ella, open the door, the voice is strained, thick with pain. It's Franco, the guard from the gate, the one with the kind eyes who'd offered me a blanket. Please, they're inside, they got past the west gate. My body locks up. Marco's order is a brand in my mind, don't open the door, but Franco is hurt, he's bleeding. He's asking for my help. Every instinct I have, every fiber of my being as a healer, wars with the command for self-preservation. I can hear him slumping against the wood, his breathing a ragged, wet gurgle. Miss, please. Damn it, I whisper, my decision made. I can't let him die out there. I fumble with the ornate brass lock, my fingers clumsy and shaking. The heavy mechanism groans as I turn it. I pull the door open just a crack. Franco is slumped against the doorframe, a dark, wet stain spreading across the front of his crisp white shirt. His face is pale, sheened with sweat, but his eyes are fixed on something down the hall. They came through the tunnels. Under the wine cellar, he chokes out, blood bubbling at the corner of his lips. Leo's holding them off, at the grand staircase. He tries to stand, but his legs give out and he collapses forward into the room. I catch him, his weight nearly sending us both to the floor. He's heavy, a dead weight of muscle and bone. I drag him inside, kicking the door shut with my foot. I don't bother relocking it, there's no point now. The illusion of safety is shattered, they're in the house. Okay, Franco, stay with me, I say, my nurse's voice kicking in, calm and authoritative despite the terror clawing at my throat. I lay him on the rug, his head cradled in my lap. The wound is on his left side, low, just above his kidney. It's deep, a nasty puncture that's bleeding profusely. A knife. You're going to be fine, just breathe. I scan the room, my mind racing. I need pressure, I need bandages, I need something. My eyes land on the bar cart in the corner of the study. I ease Franco's head onto the floor and sprint to it. I grab a stack of clean linen napkins, then a bottle of expensive-looking whiskey. I rip open Franco's shirt, the fabric tearing easily. The wound is ugly. I pour the whiskey directly into it and Franco cries out, his body arching in agony. I know, I'm sorry, I murmur, pressing the wad of linen napkins against the gushing wound. It has to be cleaned. I need more, I need a real bandage, something to hold pressure. My eyes fall on the curtains. Heavy velvet drapes in a deep burgundy. It's a sacrilege, but there's no choice. I grab a heavy letter opener from Marco's desk and saw at the fabric. It's tough, but my adrenaline gives me strength. I rip off a long strip, then another. I fold one into a thick pad and press it hard against the soaked napkins. Then I use the other strip to wrap it tightly around his torso, tying it off in a secure knot on his other side. It's crude, but it's better than nothing. It will slow the bleeding. Franco's breathing is a little less ragged now. His eyes flutter open. You shouldn't have opened the door, he whispers, and let you bleed to death in the hallway. Not a chance, I say, my voice shaking. A sudden explosion of gunfire erupts from down the hall, a deafening staccato that makes me flinch. It's closer, much closer, the grand staircase. Leo, my heart clenches in fear for the grim-faced man who has become my reluctant shadow. Franco's hand finds my arm, his grip surprisingly strong. Listen to me, he says, his voice urgent. The boss, he has a safe in here, behind the painting. He nods his head toward a large landscape hanging over the fireplace. He doesn't trust anyone. Not really, but you, he trusts you. There's a key in his desk, a small silver one in a secret compartment under the center drawer. He coughs, a wet, horrible sound. If he doesn't come back, you use it, you get out. There's a passage behind the safe. It leads to the garage. Go. Before I can respond, the study doors burst open. I scream, scrambling backward, grabbing the letter opener like a pathetic little dagger, but it's not a Falcon soldier standing there. It's Leo. He's covered in blood, some of it his own. A deep gash on his forehead bleeding freely into his eye. He's holding a handgun, its muzzle dark and menacing, but it's not pointed at me, it's pointed back into the hall from where he just came. Get back, he snarls, not at me but at the empty doorway. He kicks the study door shut with a heavy thud and I hear the distinct click of the lock engaging. He's locked us in again. He slumps against the door for a second, his breath coming in harsh, ragged gasps, then pushes himself upright. His gaze sweeps the room, taking in the fire, the scattered papers, the book of poetry still lying on the floor, and finally me and Franco. His eyes linger on the makeshift bandage I've created from the velvet curtains. A flicker of something, surprise, respect, crosses his face before being extinguished by his usual grim determination. He told you, Leo says, his voice a low growl. It's not a question. He nods toward Franco. About the safe, yes, I whisper, my own voice barely audible over the frantic thumping of my heart. He's hurt badly, I did what I could, but he needs a hospital. There are no hospitals for him, Leo says, the words flat and final, stripping away any last shred of hope I had for Franco. He walks over, his steps heavy, and crouches beside the fallen guard. He checks Franco's pulse, his touch surprisingly gentle. He's gone. The words hit me like a physical blow. Gone. I just had him, I was just talking to him. I saved him only for him to die anyway on this ridiculous, expensive rug. A wave of nausea washes over me. I press the back of my hand to my mouth, fighting it down. This is Marco's world. A world where men bleed out on Persian rugs and death is a casual, final statement. I'm sorry, Leo says, and for the first time I hear something other than cold professionalism in his voice. It's a deep, bone-weary sorrow. He was a good man. Another volley of gunfire erupts, closer than ever, accompanied by the shattering sound of glass exploding. The grand staircase, they're fighting in the foyer now. We don't have much time, Leo says, standing up. He wipes a smear of blood from his brow with the back of his gun hand, leaving a dark streak. The boss is on his way. He gave the order to clean house, but we can't wait for him to get to us. You need to get to the passage. Now. He turns his full attention to me, his one good eye burning with intensity. The key, Franco told you where it is. I nod, my mind snapping back to the task, the safe, the escape. I scramble over to the massive mahogany desk, my hands shaking so badly I can barely coordinate my movements. The center drawer, I mutter, recalling Franco's words. I pull it open. It's filled with neat rows of pens and expensive stationery. Nothing. A secret compartment, I say, running my hands underneath the drawer, feeling for a catch, a lever, anything. My fingers brush against a small, almost invisible indentation. I press it. There's a soft click and a small hidden panel pops open just beside the drawer. Inside, nestled in a bed of black velvet, is a single, small, silver key. It's ornate, old-fashioned. Got it, I breathe, snatching it up. The painting, Leo directs, already moving toward the fireplace, his gun trained on the study doors as if he expects them to burst open at any second. I run to the large landscape, a serene depiction of a rolling Italian countryside. It feels utterly out of place. I feel along the heavy gilt frame, my fingers searching for a keyhole. I find it near the bottom, almost hidden in the carved wood. I insert the key. It turns with a smooth, well-oiled click. I push on the frame and the entire painting, canvas and all, swings inward on silent hinges, revealing not a wall but a large black steel door set into the stone. A modern safe. Hurry, Leo grunts. I spin the dial on the safe, my mind a complete blank. I don't know the combination. Leo, I don't. He never changes it. Leo cuts me off, not taking his eyes off the door. His mother's birthday, May 17th, 1751. My fingers fly over the cold metal dial, right to 1, left past 1 to 7, right to 5, left to 1. A heavy clunk echoes in the room. I pull the large handle and the safe door swings open. Inside are stacks of cash, bound in plastic, a few leather-bound ledgers, and as Franco promised, a dark, gaping hole in the back wall. It smells of damp earth, dust, and decay. Go, Leo commands, grabbing my arm and pulling me toward the opening. What about you? I ask, resisting. I'm covering our retreat. I'll be right behind you. He shoves a small, heavy object into my hand. It's Franco's handgun. You know how to use one? I nod numbly. My father took me to a shooting range a few times. I hated it. Good, point and pull the trigger. Don't hesitate. He gives me a gentle but firm push into the darkness. Don't stop, don't look back. The passage slopes down. It will take you to the sublevel of the garage. There's a service elevator. Take it up. The boss will find you. I stumble into the passage, the rough stone walls scraping at my shoulders. It's pitch black. I can hear Leo behind me, the sound of him dragging something heavy, a barricade. I want to turn back to tell him to come with me now, but his words echo in my head. Don't look back. I start moving, one hand trailing along the cold, damp wall, the other clutching the heavy, unfamiliar weight of the gun. The darkness is absolute, a suffocating blanket. The only sounds are the scuff of my shoes on the gritty floor and my own ragged breaths. Behind me I hear the study door splinter, followed by a series of sharp, deafening cracks from Leo's gun. Then silence, a silence that is more terrifying than the gunfire. I force myself to keep moving, my legs pumping, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. I run blindly through the suffocating dark, the image of Franco's pale face and Leo's grim, bloody visage burned into my mind. The tunnel begins to slope upward and a faint light appears ahead of me, a sliver of gray, the garage. I burst out of the passage into a large concrete space. It's dimly lit by a few industrial bulbs hanging from the high ceiling. It's filled with cars, not just any cars, but a collection of stunning, gleaming machines. A black Ferrari, a vintage Bentley, a sleek Aston Martin. They look like sleeping predators. And in the center of the garage, standing beside a blood-splattered black SUV, is Marco. He's not in a suit, he's dressed in dark tactical pants and a black Henley that clings to the powerful muscles of his chest and arms. He's holding a silenced pistol in one hand and he's not alone. Kneeling on the concrete floor in front of him are two men, their hands zip-tied behind their backs. They're wearing the dark leather jackets of the Falcone family. One of them is bleeding from a wound in his shoulder, the other has a split lip and a swelling eye. They look terrified. Marco looks like death. His face is a mask of cold, terrifying fury. The Iceman is no longer a nickname, it's his state of being. There's no poetry in him now, no hidden vulnerability. There's only a chilling, absolute purpose. He doesn't look surprised to see me emerge from the wall. He doesn't even look at the gun in my hand. His eyes, dark and fathomless, lock onto mine. And in that moment, the rest of the world, the two kneeling men, the smell of gasoline and blood, the expensive cars, fades away. It's just him and me. Ella, he says, my name a low rumble that vibrates through the concrete floor. It's not a question, it's a statement of fact. He saw this coming, he planned for this. One of the Falcone soldiers spits on the floor, a bloody glob of phlegm. Go to hell, DeLuca. Marco doesn't even glance at him. He raises his pistol and without a word, without a flicker of emotion, pulls the trigger. The silencer makes a soft PHFFT sound, barely louder than a cough. The man jerks and then slumps forward, his head hitting the concrete with a dull, final thud. I cry out, stumbling back a step. I just watched him execute a man in cold blood. The remaining soldier whimpers a pathetic, broken sound. Please, please don't. Marco finally turns his attention to the man. He crouches down, bringing himself to the soldier's eye level. You came into my house, he says, his voice dangerously quiet. You threatened my men. You threatened what is mine. He stands up, his gaze shifting back to me. He starts walking toward me, his steps slow, deliberate. He ignores the whimpering man at his feet. He walks through the pool of blood spreading from the dead man's head without breaking stride. He stops in front of me, so close I can feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the faint, clean scent of his cologne mixed with the coppery tang of blood. He reaches out and gently takes the gun from my numb fingers, setting it on the hood of a nearby car. Then he raises his hand, his thumb brushing a smudge of dirt from my cheek. His touch is electric, a stark contrast to the cold violence I just witnessed. Are you hurt? He asks. I can only shake my head, my throat too tight to speak. He turns his head slightly, his voice carrying across the garage to the few of his men who are standing by the elevator, their faces grim and bloody. Take out the trash, he says, gesturing to the remaining Falcone soldier. Then he looks back at me and his eyes soften by a fraction of a degree. It's like watching a glacier crack, a tiny, almost imperceptible change, but it's there. He takes a step closer, his body crowding mine, a cage of muscle and heat. He places his hands on my waist, his grip firm, possessive. He leans in, his lips brushing against my ear. You're never leaving my side again. The words are a vow and a threat, a promise of safety and a sentence of imprisonment all in one. A shiver, cold and sharp, races down my spine, but it has nothing to do with the chill of the garage. It's the proximity of him, the absolute certainty in his tone. He pulls back just enough to look at me, his dark eyes searching my face, cataloging every flicker of fear and shock. He doesn't look remorseful for what he just did. He looks settled, as if a necessary piece of business has been concluded. Behind us, his men move with grim efficiency. They drag the bodies toward a large drain in the center of the floor, their movements practiced and devoid of emotion. One of them produces a hose. The sound of spraying water echoes in the cavernous space, washing blood and sin down the concrete. I watch, mesmerized by the horrifying normalcy of it all. This is cleanup. This is their Tuesday night. Look at me, Ella. Marco's command is soft, but it cuts through the noise like a shard of glass. I force my gaze away from the grisly scene and back to his face. His thumb is still stroking my cheek, a slow, rhythmic motion that is both comforting and terrifying. They came for you, he says, his voice low and intense. They came into my house to take what is mine. They paid the price. The way he says mine sends a jolt through me. It's not a term of endearment. It's a declaration of ownership, like he's talking about a car or a piece of art. I should be screaming. I should be fighting him, running for the exit I can see just 100 feet away, but my feet are rooted to the spot. My body is a traitor, responding to the raw power and predatory grace of the man in front of me, the man who just saved me, the man who just murdered for me. Leo, I whisper, the name scraping my throat. Marco's expression doesn't change, but a flicker of something, pain, annoyance, crosses his eyes so quickly I might have imagined it. He was a good soldier. He did his duty. He bought you time. The finality in his tone tells me everything I don't want to know. Leo is gone. The man who shoved me into the dark, who gave me his boss's mother's birthday, who faced down an assault rifle to give me a chance, is dead. A wave of nausea washes over me, hot and bitter. I sway on my feet and Marco's arm bands around my waist, pulling me flush against him. He's solid, unmovable, a rock in the violent, churning sea of my new reality. Breathe, he orders, his lips against my hair. Just breathe. I inhale shakily, filling my lungs with the scent of him, clean linen, expensive cologne, and the faint, metallic tang of blood that clings to him like a second skin. He steers me away from the scene of the cleanup, his hand a firm, unyielding pressure on my back. We walk past the gleaming, silent cars, monuments to a wealth I can barely comprehend. He doesn't speak, and I don't dare to. His men watch us pass, their expressions a mixture of respect and fear. They lower their eyes as we approach, a clear acknowledgement of his status and of mine as his property. We take a private elevator up, the mirrored walls reflecting the two of us, a disheveled, dirt-smudged nurse in scrubs and a powerful, immaculately dressed killer. The contrast is stark, absurd. I look like a ghost haunting his machine. The elevator opens directly into a vast foyer. This isn't the part of the mansion I've been in before. The air is different here, quieter, heavier. The floors are a pale, veined marble, the furniture a stark, minimalist collection of black leather and chrome. It's beautiful, but it feels like a museum, cold and impersonal. Or maybe it's just the blood still drying on the hem of my scrubs. He leads me down a wide hallway and stops before a set of imposing black double doors. He places his palm on a small, glowing panel by the door, and with a soft click, they swing open. His suite. The room beyond is enormous, a study and living area combined. One entire wall is made of floor-to-ceiling glass, offering a breathtaking panoramic view of the city lights twinkling in the dark distance. It feels like we're suspended above the world, separate and untouchable. A fire crackles softly in a massive stone fireplace. Sit, he says, gesturing toward a deep black leather sofa. I sink into it, the leather cool and smooth against my skin. He walks over to a bar cart carved from dark wood, his movements fluid and unhurried. He pours 2 fingers of a golden liquid into a heavy crystal tumbler. Drink this. He hands it to me. My hand trembles as I take it, the ice cubes clinking softly. I bring the glass to my lips and the liquid burns a fiery path down my throat. Whiskey. It's strong and smoky, and it chases away the last of the shock, leaving a cold, hard clarity in its wake. He stands by the fireplace, watching me, his silhouette framed by the flickering light. He's taken off his jacket, and the black Henley he wears stretches across his broad shoulders and powerful biceps. He looks less like a CEO and more like a gladiator who just finished a fight in the arena. Why? I ask, my voice finally steady. Why did you kill him? He was helpless. Marco turns to face me fully, the firelight dancing in his dark eyes. He was a soldier for the Falcone family. He entered my home with the intent to harm you. His helplessness was irrelevant. His intent was a death sentence. But you just shot him. There was no trial. No, there is no trial here, Ella. He cuts me off, his voice hard as granite. There is only my law, and my law is simple. You do not touch what belongs to me. They crossed a line. They paid the price. The possessiveness in his words is a physical force. It should repel me. Instead, a dark, treacherous part of me, the part that has been living in fear for weeks, feels a flicker of relief. I am safe. No one will dare to come for me now, not after what they've seen, not after what he's done. Leo is dead because of me, I say, the guilt a heavy stone in my stomach. Leo is dead because he was a soldier in my army. He knew the risks. Marco's voice is flat, devoid of the grief I feel. He takes a sip of his own whiskey, his eyes never leaving mine. He made his choice. He chose to protect you. He chose to die for this family. His sacrifice will be remembered. His family will be taken care of. That is the honor we give him. The way he talks about honor and family while the metallic scent of blood still clings to the air is a dizzying paradox. It's a language I don't speak, a code I can't begin to understand. In my world, you save everyone. In his, you let some die so others can live. He had a name, I whisper, the words of fragile protest. He had a life. And he gave it for you, Marco counters, his tone sharpening. Do not dishonor his sacrifice by questioning it. He died so you could sit here in this room safe. The least you can do is accept the cost of that safety. The cost is a man's life, a man I knew for a few frantic minutes, but a man nonetheless. The guilt is a physical weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I stare into the fire, watching the flames lick at the logs, consuming them. It feels like a metaphor for my life, for everything I thought I knew. I'm being consumed by this world, by this man. He moves from the fireplace, his steps silent on the thick rug. He sits down on the sofa next to me, not close enough to touch, but the air crackles between us, charged with the violence of the last hour and the intimacy of this quiet moment. The sofa is huge, but his presence makes it feel small, enclosed. You're in shock, he says, his voice softer now. It's an observation, not a question. You need to rest. Rest. I let out a short, sharp laugh that sounds more like a sob. How am I supposed to rest? I just watched you execute a man. I just found out Leo is gone. I can't bring myself to say the word again. You will rest because I am telling you to, he says, the steel back in his voice, and because tomorrow we have work to do. I turn to look at him, his profile sharp and severe in the firelight. Work, what work? He finally turns his head and our eyes lock. The intensity in his gaze is staggering. It's not just anger or coldness. There's a deep, calculating intelligence there and something else I can't quite name. A weariness maybe, a burden he carries. The Falcons didn't just send those men to kidnap you, Ella. They sent a message. They think they can weaken me by taking what's mine. They think they can frame me for a hit on one of their own, a man I've never even met, and then use you as the final nail in my coffin. They're getting desperate. He sets his glass down on the marble coffee table with a soft click. They framed you too. You're not just a witness, you're the patsy, the nurse who was in on it, the one who helped the Iceman get away. They've already painted a narrative. If the police get their hands on you, you'll go down for this right alongside me. His words land like blows, each one chipping away at the fragile ground I'm standing on. I knew I was in danger, but I hadn't fully grasped the legal trap he's describing. I'm not just a witness to a mob hit, I'm an accessory in the eyes of the law. The rival family has thought of everything. So what do? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. He reaches out, his fingers tracing the line of my jaw. His touch is surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to the brutal violence I just witnessed. My skin tingles where he touches it, a traitorous warmth spreading through me. We do what we should have done from the beginning, he says, his thumb stroking my cheekbone. We go on the offensive, we prove they framed me, and you, he pauses, his eyes boring into mine, are the key to that proof. How? I don't know anything, I just saved a man's life. You saved my man, he corrects me gently. A man named Rico, the man the Falcons claim I killed. They didn't count on you being so good at your job, nurse. They didn't count on you saving him. And they didn't count on Rico trusting you enough to tell you the truth before he slipped into a coma. My mind races. Rico, the man in the warehouse, the one whose emergency contact I called, the one whose blood I still have under my fingernails. He didn't tell me anything, I say, confused. He was barely conscious. He didn't have to say much, Marco says, a faint, predatory smile touching his lips. It doesn't reach his eyes. He gave you his mother's birthday. A random piece of information, you thought, but it's not. It's a code, a dead drop location, a place where he kept evidence, insurance, against people like the Falcons, people in his own family even. He leans closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. He knew they were coming for him, he knew he was being set up, and he knew that if he survived, the only person he could trust was the stranger who fought to save him. You. My head is spinning. This is too much. It's a world of conspiracies and codes and dead drops, a world away from the clean, logical world of medicine and triage. I don't understand any of this. You don't have to, he says, his hand sliding from my jaw to the nape of my neck. His fingers curl into my hair, a firm, possessive grip that sends a shiver down my spine. You just have to remember the birthday. Where were you when you heard it? What did you write it on? Every detail matters. I try to think back, to force my memory through the fog of shock and fear. The warehouse, the smell of gasoline and blood, the cold concrete floor. I put it in my phone, in my notes, just the date. Show me. His command is immediate. I fumble for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I can barely get my thumb on the sensor. When it opens, I pull up the Notes app, my finger hovering over the screen. The date is there, a simple string of numbers, 7/22/58. To me, it was just a piece of data. To him, it. Would you trust him? Comment and subscribe.